We've been talking a little bit about sort of direction of the business, the vision, the mission, and the culture. But for a lot of people, they struggle with this notion of what's my business going to look like when it's finished. I'm going to suggest a few things for you. And the first one is that if you don't know where your business is going to end up, let's work out a minimum worst case scenario of where you'd like your business to end up. And the first thing that I'd suggest it needs to be is needs to be commercial. Now, what do I mean by that? I mean that it's not an idea on a piece of paper, right? It's not a conversation we had in a bar. It actually trades, and that means money comes in and money goes out. So the first thing in our business vision or our goal or our objective is that it's commercial. The second one is that it has to be. Now, I say this and people laugh about it, but what does profitable mean? Profitable means more money goes in than goes out. And how do we make sure of that? Well, we monitor profit, not just turnover. Because there's an old saying, that turnover is vanity, profit is sanity, and cash flow is king. So we need to be sure that our business is profitable, and we need to know how to measure that profit. Now, the next part of this equation, which is quite interesting, is that sometimes people think being self-employed and being in business is the same thing. Now, arguably in Australia, when you have an ABN, an Australian business number, you are in business. But the problem is it's more self-employed than it is a business, which means you have one big vulnerability, and that's you. So we need to think about how do we remove you out of the equation. Now, not in the short term, because maybe you like what you do and that's awesome, or maybe you can't afford to pay anyone else, but you've got to think future, right? And in terms of future, we want to make sure that we have more than just ourselves. So I'll use the word enterprise here, even though I can't spell it. Enterprise, right? Now, what do I mean by enterprise? I just mean that the business is bigger than you, and I'm not talking about using VAs. I'm talking about employees. Why would we want to have employees? Well, simple, right? It's about reducing risk, right? One of the problems with being self-employed is if you don't work, you don't get paid. And if you realise that that's risk, when you're young and when you're energetic, it's not really a problem. And if you've got good insurance, it's not really a problem. But if you think about the future, so there's going to be a point in time where you want to get off the tools. So we've got to start thinking in terms of planning for that and making sure that we've got some way of leveraging ourselves. So being commercial, being profitable and having an enterprise is quite important. The last bit is really interesting. We want a commercial, profitable enterprise that works. Now, what I mean by works is that there's a system in place that means these people here can do this job the same way that I would do it. So a commercial, profitable enterprise that works, and here's the clincher. A commercial, profitable enterprise that works without you. Now I want you to imagine this for a moment. For some of you, you'd be terrified about having a business that works without you, but for some of you, this would be awesome because it gives you choices. And one of the things that most people go into business for is this ability to choose how many hours I work, how much money I make, what sort of lifestyle choices I have. Now, to get lifestyle choices out of your business, you can do one of two things. Keep it small and have a little bit of profit, or grow it to a point where you don't need to be there anymore. So if you don't have that vision, if you don't know where you want your company to go, this is not a bad one to start with. Because if we start with an end in mind and the end is that this thing runs without me, we're actually building asset value within our business.